Hey, and welcome back to the Make Math Make Sense Master Classic Marvel Math video. I'm your host, Shalongo. That's right, the guy with the penny in his mouth trying to make sense out of math. No pun intended. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so you see the new content when I upload. If you're working through Khan, definitely going to want those math hack videos. Whether you do that or not, definitely hit the up or down thumb. I want feedback. Feedback is helpful. Please do that. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. Today we are going to divide quadratics by linear expressions with no remainders. Here's Q1, x squared minus 2x plus 1 divided by x minus 1. Here's what we need to know before we start today. We need to know how to factor quadratics, because that's what, if we're going to correctly divide this polynomial by x minus 1, we've got to factor this quadratic. So we're going to use this information over here to the right. I'm not going to get into a ton of detail. There's video on factoring quadratics that I encourage you to watch if it's something that you're struggling with. I'm just going to give you a quick synopsis. Here's what's going on. When a is 1, a is the coefficient on the x squared term, which in this case, you don't see a number, so you know that number is 1. So this will work because a is 1. When a equals 1, there is a relationship that will allow us to go from standard form to factored form. And the relationship is outlined right here, where b equals u plus v and c equals u times. Let's use this relationship to factor the quadratic. First thing you want to do is identify what b and c are. So we've got b is the middle term, the x term, which is negative 2, and c is always the constant, which is positive 1. Alright, so we got our linear term and our c term. And now what we've got to figure out is what combinations multiply, what two numbers multiply to 1? Well, there's two combinations. The first combination is 1 times 1. And the second combination is negative 1 times negative 1. So once we figure out which combinations multiply to c, then we take those combinations and we figure out which of those two combinations will add to negative 2. And if you said negative 1 plus negative 1, you are absolutely right. So this is the combination that multiplies to 1 but adds to negative 2. So now we know that u is negative 1 and v is also equal to negative 1. Now let's rewrite the quadratic in factored form. X plus u, which would be x minus 1, times x plus v, which would be x minus 1. And we're dividing that by x minus 1. And we already know that anything in math divided by itself is 1. So x minus 1 divided by x minus 1, these two will divide out to 1. And so we're left with 1 times this other factor, x minus 1. And we know that 1 times anything is whatever you're multiplying it to. So we know that our final answer is x minus 1. And so when we divide x squared minus 2x plus 1 by x minus 1, we're left with just x minus 1. Example number 2. First step, what's b, what's c? b is the coefficient on the x term. What's the coefficient on the x term? Negative 1. And c is always the constant. What's the constant here? Negative 12. Now let's figure out what combinations multiply to negative 12. We got negative 6 times 2. Since it's a negative number, I know one of the two numbers has to be negative, right? Or maybe positive 2 times, that's the same exact thing written with the commutative property of multiplication. Or positive 6 times negative 2, right? But when we add these combinations, this first combination adds to, let's see, negative 4. The second combination adds to positive 4. Cool, those aren't the right numbers. So let's try some different numbers. We know it's not 12 and 1. 3 and negative 4. And negative 3 and positive 4. So there's some guessing and checking going on here, right? 3 plus negative 4 when we add is going to be negative 1. Boom, done. Here's our numbers, 3 and 4. Cool. So let's rewrite the quadratic in factored form. We know our factors are positive 3 and negative 4. So x plus 3, x minus 4. Awesome. We're dividing that by x plus 3. Anything in math divided by itself is always going to equal 1. And so essentially, I can't even get the highlighter. I want the highlighter, man. Those divide out to 1. We're left with 1 times x minus 4. Cool. 1 times anything is whatever you're multiplying it to. Boom. X minus 4 is your answer. Done. Example 3. I'm going to show my work in the calculator this time. Alright, b. Positive 1. How did I know b was positive 1? b is the coefficient on the x term. The x term doesn't have a number, and it's a plus, so it's a plus 1. C is the constant, negative 6. Sweet. Numbers that multiply to negative 6. 3 times negative 2. Sweet. Now I'm going to add them to see if they add to the middle number. 3 plus negative 2 adds to 1. Boom, done. Now I've got my factors. I'm going to go ahead and write them in right here. X minus 6 times x plus 1. And we're dividing that. You see a line coming up. The line doesn't really matter right now. By x plus 3. Why did I do x plus 6? I'm so... Okay, I totally got confused. Here are my factors right here, right? I was looking at these numbers over here. Bad move, dude. Bad move. So, negative 2 and positive 3. Dude, I cannot type right now. What is happening? What is happening? Alright. X plus 3 divided by itself is 1. 1 times x minus 2 is x minus 2. Boom, done. Last question of the day. Ooh, tricky. Tricky. Now, this one looks a little bit different, right? Like, there's only 2 terms. My face is in the way. There's only 2 terms. Well, we know that the constant is always c. What's the constant? The number without a variable. What's that number? Negative 49. Sweet. Well, what's b? Well, we know that b is the coefficient on the x term. Well, there is no x term. You're right. There isn't an x term. So, what just happened? What's the coefficient when there isn't an x term? 0. There's 0 x's. There's no x's. Cool. So, middle number is 0. Constant's negative 49. Numbers that multiply to negative 49. There's only one such combination. 7 times negative 7. Boom. Negative 49. And watch what happens when we add them. They add to 0. Cool. We've got our numbers. Let's go ahead and type in the math real quick. X plus 7. X minus 7. And we're dividing all of that by x plus 7. Not x equals 7. Come on. X plus 7 divided by x plus 7 divides to 1. 1 times x minus 7 is x minus 7. No remainder. Boom, done. And that's how we divide quadratics by linear expressions with no remainders. Good luck.